Well, it's Thursday morning, March 3rd. I've been on the trail for about 30 minutes. Had a good night. It was cold last night, down to about 38, 36. It'll be colder the next few nights, but in exchange for that, we get sunshine during the day and no rain or snow. Got some beautiful views here as well. I was over there on that mountain, somewhere halfway up, I believe. Came down into a gap, high tower gap, and last 300 feet have been up, or 300 feet of elevation gain since I crossed the gap. So good morning, looking forward to it. Going only 7.5 miles today to Gooch Mountain Shelter. It's keeping my promise to myself to try to stay within 8 to 12, maybe 10 miles on the trail for the first 2 weeks. And just to give them where campsites are located, this is the best place for me to stop. So onward. I meant to mention, I was hiking in front of another guy who was in the shelter last night, and we were talking. He was about 4 or 5 feet behind me, and he tripped on a rock, and he pulled the rock up and caught his whole foot, and he started stumbling forward, and thank goodness he caught himself and didn't come down on the back of my legs unexpectedly. Would have been bad. But just a note to self, I mean, there's so many random things that can happen on the trail. Nothing I could have done if that had happened, but I'm sure it was just kind of a rare random event. But it didn't. He's doing fine and I'm fine. And marching on. Well, I'm about 3 miles from my shelter, finally going downhill a little bit. The first 3.5 miles is over 1,200 feet of elevation gain, so it's a much harder start to today. Beautiful views, clear skies, just the wind blowing from time to time. I don't know the temperature, but it must be high 40s, low 50s. Enough to work up a sweat, that's for sure. Learned 2 valuable lessons so far today. One, I mentioned, don't have people hiking right behind you, because if they fall, you're most likely the ones to get taken out and get hurt. And the second is, when you poop in the woods, don't do it on a sloped surface if you can help it. I used the pull method, meaning I found a small tree I could hold on to, but I was on a slope, downward slope. My arms got tired. So that's one way to build up upper body strength, I guess. All right, just learned a couple more things. Well, this one I already knew. When you come to a gap, you either are walking downhill to it or uphill from it. I'm walking uphill from Cooper Gap right now. There's no in between for the gaps, and there's lots of gaps. On my way to Gooch Mountain Shelter, 3.3 miles from Cooper Gap. So be there an hour and a half, 2 hours. Well, 2 hours, gonna stop for lunch here in a little bit. And lesson 3 that I learned a short while ago is placement of your poles. It's, I try to keep them outside my feet as they come down in front. But once in a while, you're having to shift left and right, and a pole may come down. Where it comes down is between your feet, but the time you step, you move it. Once in a while, the pole gets stuck. So when you go to try to pull it out, you can't. You're going to trip over your pole. That almost happened to me with my right pole, and I did trip, but I didn't fall. I stumbled, caught myself. Felt a little twinge in my left hamstring, but it has gone away already. So anyway, I should keep a list of all these lessons I'm learning. On to lunchtime. Neat part of the trail, kind of narrow and on a slope coming down, and with a great view. So I'm down low, so I'm not getting the winds. I did up higher, but I guess I'll be heading up there in a little bit, or I am now. There's so many beautiful parts of the trail, it's hard to, you can't get them all in terms of recording. I can enjoy them all because I'll be doing it, but I thought this was pretty. This perfect example of the long green tunnel that the trail is known for. Just kind of meandering around on the side of a hill amongst and below these trees. So very pretty. Tenths of a mile to the shelter, Gooch Mountain Shelter. I thought this was a pretty river, but fun. This is the crossing right there. And this nice little stream. I assume this will be the water source I'll be tapping into when I get to the shelter. And just continue to the left up the side of that hill on the other side. Gooch Mountain Shelter. It's a nice shelter the way they have the campsites laid out. They're all pretty spread out. But I love the water source. Pipe straight from the ground. Natural spring. Plus easy to fill up. Okay, tucked away at Gooch Mountain Shelter. I think it's pretty full. There are campsites everywhere. Up through there is a shelter. Good. It'll be a good night soon.